2, 1.
Ready.
Just relax and enjoy the ride.
In crowd, 815. In crowd, 815. In crowd, 815. In crowd, 815. 815.
I'm pretty sure, Tom, there's probably countless combinations of 3 people such that you are the only person in the world who has actually met all 3 people. I'm Greg. He's Tom. We're going to be 3 people on the In Crowd 815 podcast today for this. What is this? The 29th day of November, the year 2025, the latest it has ever been, my friend.
In the history of mankind. I can almost guarantee you that you and Jake have never met my cousin Bill. So I am the only person that's ever met cousin Bill. He lives in a cave in Colorado. And nobody knows him.
Oh, well,
I'm kidding. I don't know.
Your analogy. If it's an analogy, you're probably 100% correct. So that's cool. We got a show for you, and the person's still probably sleeping next to you. And yes, if you've seen the social media posts, today is going to be almost entirely about the Green Bay Packers. We are Packers fans here at the In Crowd 815 podcast, and we've got a great friend to tell us about what's going on, not just on the screens, but behind the scenes with the Green Bay Packers. And we're going to talk with Jacob Westendorf about that in just a little bit. But first, let's take care of this. Our current race to 10 is tied at a score of 3-3. We've both kicked field goals. They were both over 50 yards, which is pretty impressive. Lucha Cantina gift card, $25, is going to go to somebody who comments on the show today during the live portion of the show. So this is a perfect opportunity to guess what our big number of the week is all about. The big number this week is 9 million. And the answer is Sunday or Superman.
Ooh.
Sunday or Superman. So in the comments, if you're watching us on Rumble, LinkedIn, Facebook, or YouTube, either of those 4 platforms, you should be able to make a comment that shows up on my restream screen here. And by doing that, you'll be in the drawing to win this $25 gift card from our friends at Lucha Cantina in Rockford, which is excelente. I love the shrimp tacos. Sign me up. Yeah, so that's all you got to do in the comments. Guess Sunday or Superman. 9 million.
Already sent mine.
Tom sent me his guess, and he's there. All right. I don't think there's any other side business to take care of today other than jumping into our guest. So what do you say we do that right now?
Let's do it.
In
the words of Tone Loc, let's do it.
Let's do this. The Green Bay Packers are our team. And at least this guy has one team that we like, know, and respect. The other ones we probably don't talk much about. Jacob Westendorf from Rockford, who writes for Sports Illustrated. Welcome to the program.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate you having me back. It's been, I'm thinking, did we do this right before they drafted Matthew Golden or right after the draft in Green Bay? Something like that.
It was around that time.
It was around that time.
Because we said, I don't know, because I thought we said let's have him on after the draft. So it
might have been after. I haven't talked to you since they traded for Parsons and everything. I know that.
No.
Did you see that coming? Let's start with that question right there before we get into all things Jacob Westendorf. Did you see the Parsons trade coming, and was it surprising to you?
So the days leading up to it, so that was the end of August, I got a message from the guy who runs my website, runs the site that he has. His name's Bill Huber. He's been a beat writer for about 20 years. He's best in the business as far as I'm concerned. Yep. Bill sent me a text and said, can you keep an eye on this if they sign Micah Robinson, the 7th round pick defensive back to the practice squad? And he was at training camp practice, said, can you just do something for me to finish this? I was like, yeah, sure. And then he says, and you also might want to start writing a story on the other Micah, as in Parsons, because there was some smoke that was kind of percolating around that move potentially being made between, rumors, message boards, all that fun stuff. And you obviously saw the stuff on the news. And then I was like, yeah, sure. My take on it is basically give up the picks, give up the money. He's worth it. Parsons is one of the best players in football. We've seen that obviously over the last 3 months. And he's like, yeah. And then about 20 minutes into me writing that story, I got a notification on my phone, and all it said was Bill Huber ... and then it said holy bleep. And I was like, okay, so something happened. And then I
it
pulled
wasn't
open.
Micah Robinson.
No, it wasn't. They did that, I believe, earlier in the day. But yeah, and then it was okay. So it went from signing to like why they should give them all that to why they were right to do all of that. So I put all that together. So it has been, I was 2 years old when they signed Reggie White. So I say that saying this, it's the best acquisition they have made in my lifetime. He is every bit the player on the field as he is person off of it. He's engaging. Yep. He talks to us after games. He's thoughtful. He understands the burden of being a great player like he is, and also what that means to the rest of his teammates. He's a really good teammate. And I think as somebody who really admired Reggie White, the reverence he's given to Reggie since he's gotten here. The first thing he did after he was acquired by Green Bay, he posted a video to Instagram of like a video of like Reggie White going into Micah Parsons highlights. And then I think it was Thursday, he became the first player in NFL history to have 12 sacks in his first 5 seasons. It was him and Reggie were the only two to do it 4 years in a row. Reggie must have taken a season off or something in his 5th year, but he's been great. He's been phenomenal. And obviously on the field, he's a fantastic, the best defensive player in football, not named Myles Garrett.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say about Micah is loyalty. He didn't want to leave Dallas. He wanted to stay in Dallas. But Jerry Jones is Jerry Jones. Well, we made the offer, and I'm sorry to see him go. Whatever. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Jerry.
There's a big fence in Green Bay that says that. So if you guys drive up, I think that's Lombardi. There's a fence there that says "Thank you, Jerry."
Thank you, Jerry. I saw it last year. I went up there. Matt and I went up there for Matt, my son. For those of you watching and you don't know who I'm talking about, we went up there with the grandsons, my 2 grandsons, and we saw the "Thank you, Jerry." We parked right near there in one of the yards. It was cool. I like. Look at that. Thank you, Jerry. Yep. Oh, and they were also yelling, "Thank you, Jerry." They kept yelling it. So
tailgate party chants going throughout the parking lots.
I'm telling you, it was just awesome.
Pretty awesome. Well,
I went to the Cleveland game this year, by the way, Jake. Cleveland, yeah. Matt and I drove to Cleveland.
He's not exactly thrilled about that, but you know. So before we get into more Packers stuff, I want to talk a little bit about your other work at the Alden Network. What do you do what was your day job before you now have 2 day jobs, or how do you describe it?
Yeah. So my day job, I call that my real job. And then I have like my fun job. So my fun job is the Packers stuff, which I do 5-6 times a week, and then game days and stuff like that. I've gotten to travel for games. I'm very fortunate. We'll talk about that stuff too. Mm-hmm. My day job, I am a central intake specialist for the Alden Network. That is a promotion off the heels of being the admissions director at Alden Debus, which used to be known as Nelson Debus, and it is pronounced Debus. I've heard people say, is it Deebs or Debus? And I met Cheryl Debus when I was working at Alden Debus, and I said, okay, so that's how it's pronounced. So that's where I was for a while. Skilled nursing facility, rehab, long-term care. The senior population is something I've grown up around. My mom was a nurse when I was younger. She's worked at the same facility for 50 years, it feels like. But it's a group of people that kind of, in my opinion, I feel like sometimes they just kind of get dropped into one of these facilities and then forgotten about. So I do kind of miss that connection between the residents and myself, because now since I'm a central intake, I'm 100% work from home. Which is nice. A lot of times I get to spend a lot more time with my 2 little kids, which you'll probably hear in the background at some point, and decide whether or not I want to wear pants on a given work day.
Amen, brother. Amen, brother. I'm constantly in sweatpants around this house, and I'm very happy about that.
Yes.
So the Alden Network is a facility here, just one facility in Rockford, or there's a couple?
No, there's 2 facilities in Rockford. So there's Debus and Park Strathmore. Park Strathmore is right by like St. Anthony's Hospital. It's behind it. And then there's like 14 other buildings or something like that just around this. It's all in Illinois. Okay. So nothing leaves the state lines, I don't think. Maybe one goes like into southern Wisconsin or something like that. But most of it's in Illinois. And we've got a lot of people, a lot of different contracts and facilities and stuff like that we could serve. So just kind of depending on where you're at. But around here, the cool part about the two facilities is they do have some different niches that they can kind of serve. So like Park Strathmore, if you have somebody who's on like a ventilator, they have a unit strictly for that. And that's a hard, that's a really tough clinical condition whenever you get into that point. And then like Debus, we had a hospice wing there. We have obviously skilled rehab, and then VA contracts. So veterans, which is another thing very near and dear to my heart. So the veteran population is well served by those two places, as they had a VA contract when I left. Whether or not they still do, that was 6 months ago.
And that was the other logo I was going to put on the screen this morning, the Veterans Drop-In Center here in Rockford. From what I understand, they've gone through a leadership change here in the last couple of months.
Yes.
So they're getting back on their feet and getting back going, and that's something that's close to your heart too.
Yes. So when I worked for Heartland Hospice, which has been a couple of years now, I think my son wasn't even born yet when I had done that. So it's been a little while, but I used to I think it was like once or twice a month, we'd go in there and we'd serve dinner for them. And it was just like, I'd cook dinner and I'd serve to whoever was dropping in, and just kind of seeing how that whole operation kind of worked. I'm interested to see what it looks like under the leadership change. One of my friends during the summer, he's actually my partner when I umpire youth baseball games, but Ryan Russell is really involved there. So I've kind of kept up with him through that. I was kind of hoping he would get the leadership position. I thought he would have been fantastic for that, but he's young and wants to do what the young people do. So I completely understand that too. So, but yeah, it's a place where, we just had Veterans Day here a couple of weeks ago, and that's another group of another population who I feel like, we send them overseas and say, protect us from the bad guy. And then we come home and are like, oh yeah, you're homeless. Sorry, man, that sucks. Like I feel like there's more stuff that we could do for stuff like that.
Amen.
Plus, just a lot of different things there. But I think that's a group of people who I got a lot of friends, family members, stuff like that were in the military, that have served, still are serving. So those are people that I try and take care of as much as I can. So give them all the free meals and stuff you can on Veterans Day and some other days.
Yeah, I'm really blessed that my dad, who served in Vietnam, is still with us and able to talk more about it now than he has in the past. It's really cool to get some of the stories that he wasn't willing to share when we were young, and he's willing to share them now, and it's pretty cool. So the one other thing that I know has been pretty close to your heart too is the Roy Gale Pony League Baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And they have also been asking for some help in the last couple of months with storm damage and such out at the ballparks there. It's been a few years since you've been out there. Do you have any kind of thing that you can mention about Roy Gale?
Yeah, I grew up there. We started going out there every summer from the time I was 14 until the summers that my two kids were born. I umpired out there and did some stuff, but it's been after coaching a team out there for as long as I did. Once my kid was born, it was kind of hard to coach other people's kids and do it the way I wanted to do it, but it's a great facility. Last I was there were 8 diamonds that they had put together and everything. And the park is still beautiful. I'd been there a couple years ago for a tournament and everything like that. So, they have a lot of, I would say they struggled with asking for help. So I think now that they are asking for it means they are at their, I don't want to say they're at their wit's end, but them asking for help means that is something that they certainly need. So I think that if you can find a way to do it, it's kids playing baseball. What better cause could you possibly find to put something into?
Giving them something good to do, and they could use some help out there. They just did a fundraiser here a few weeks ago, and get a shout out thank you to some folks that helped make that possible. But yeah, there's a GoFundMe out there as well. So check out the Roy Gale Baseball Softball News Facebook page. I think is pretty much where they put most of their stuff.
Yeah, I don't know if they're still doing it. They haven't reached out to me for a while, but we used to have a scholarship fund in the name of my late father. So kids who struggled to pay their league fees would have donations made in my dad's name, and then we would kind of use that fund to pay for it too. So I don't know if they're still doing that, and it's okay if they're not, but either way, that's a good cause as well for something for, again, a lot of people. It's tough out there, man. I know how hard it is to earn a living and have any money extra on the side to have, league fees to pay for anything. So I just started paying for gymnastics and all that stuff too. So I know scraping that together can be tough.
The things you will do to give your kids what their hearts desire.
Right. And I only had 2, Greg. I stopped at 2. You had, like what I said before the show, 27. So
27.
The number of
You're far off.
The number of part-time jobs my wife took on so that my kids could do all the things they wanted to do.
Part-time
Monumental.
jobs, I will mind you, and I will say this, and she did not pay me to say this, and I've said this before. She is the greatest math teacher I ever had, and I had her 2 separate grade points. So she taught me 2 different classes, and I understood it better when Mrs. Saunders, Christy Saunders, taught me those subjects. So far and away the best teacher I ever had in that subject. So that is some Wonder Woman type stuff if she was doing that and taking on part-time gigs.
Exactly. You're part of the chosen 2 classes that she taught 5th grade. She went down to 5th grade for 2 years and then went back up to 8th graders. So there was only 2 years, if I remember right.
And she subbed for a little while. She had like a prolonged-ish, like 2 to 3 week stretch when I was in high school where she taught me algebra 2. So that was where I didn't have her in 5th grade, but I had her for 8th grade. And then I had her for that stretch in high school. And then the math Olympics too in elementary school, but that's
Amazing. Well, we are again all fans here on this show. Well, the Green Bay Packers. My love for them is pretty obvious. I grew up in Cheeseland. I'm a Wisconsinite, so that's where I fell in. Tom's story has told us a couple different times of just falling in love with the old school Packers back in the day. What is your story, JW? Why did you become a Packers fan from Rockford, Illinois?
Yeah, so I'm from here. I'm probably every story from every kid who grew up in the 90s, but I was young. I watched Brett Favre run around the field with his helmet above his head in the Superdome and thought, I want to play like that guy. So, Favre, I know, has his legal troubles and everything like that now, but as far as I was concerned, from the time I was, 5 until he played in Minnesota for 2 years, that guy was he was a superhero. Superhero wore a 4 on his chest as far as I was concerned when I was younger. So that's really the story. And then from there, it just kind of took off. I love the sport in general. I remember like in elementary school, they would let me do like little blurbs about why I like the Packers and what I thought about the game on Sunday and stuff like that is like stuff that I don't want to make myself sound like I was a child prodigy or anything like that, but I struggled in school because things came so quickly and naturally to me that I just kind of blew through them and missed them. So I was bored. So my 1st and 2nd grade teachers would let me do stuff like that. And oddly enough, it was an old magazine of the Tom Korth, Ray Nitschke Packer report that they would let me bring in. 20 years later, I ended up interning for the very same publication. So that was kind of cool.
Wow.
To be able to do that. But yeah, I grew up with the Favre era. I'm very happy that I never wavered when they went from Favre to Rodgers because, I'm a big believer you root for the jersey, not the name on the back of it. So I didn't do the whole Jets thing. I definitely did not root for the Vikings. And so, yeah, it was Brett Favre and Antonio Freeman and Reggie White and all those guys when I was younger. And then, Aaron Rodgers, Clay Matthews, all that kind of group. And then got into doing a little bit of writing, a little bit of talking, a little bit of stuff like that. And then I think it was draft season of 20. It was the year they took, not Jordan Morgan, but the year before that, Lucas Van Ness. It was the year they took so that draft class when they took Van Ness. I got a message from Bill, who I interned with when I was in college and did some stuff. I covered that draft they took Clinton Dix in that draft and Devontae Adams. So I always say I made Devontae as good as he was, but I got a message from him and said, like, is this something you'd be interested in once we get to the season? And I was like, yes, yes. So I have now covered the team for 3 seasons. So Jordan Love's first year as a starter was my first year with Packers on SI. And it's been quite a journey. It's been fun to watch and see and learn some stuff from. You think you know everything, and then you get behind the scenes a little bit and see how the whole operation of everything really works. Really grew my respect for the profession of professional football player and coach kind of in general. But it's been fun to kind of learn and pick some stuff up along the way and write some really cool stories in the process as well. Because I think the men behind the mask is what I always call it. Learning who those guys are. I think there's a stigma that the players are either like superheroes or they're like prima donnas who only care about themselves and money. And I've learned that a lot of them don't look at themselves either way. There are a few of those, but a lot of them are just kind of regular people. And it's kind of cool to learn about that.
Well, there's another stereotype too, is that, they're just dumb. If they were smart, they'd be working in, corporate America making money, but they're too good to college. just to play football, and that's simply not the case. There are so many guys. You had Minnesota Vikings, Matt Burke. He was a doctor. He went to Harvard, for crying out loud. Robert Smith, also a doctor, went to Ohio State, played for the Vikings. I don't know how I ended up with two Vikings references, but there are a lot of very, very, very bright men out there playing football.
Very diverse.
Because
Very
you do
diverse.
get your 4-year education. You do have to learn how to hunker down and pay attention and follow directions. And those who do that and do it successfully are the ones that, they end up smart and they end up making a lot of money outside of football. Because the average football career is what, 4 years?
Yeah, 3.
Something like that. It might have changed by now, but so you're going to be out on your own by the time you're 32, 35, 38, unless you're Aaron Rodgers or Tom Brady.
Yeah, those are the complete outliers. Lasting more than 10 years is a complete outlier in the NFL.
Oh, absolutely.
Sure. You mentioned that, when you were experiencing things that were not what you expected, kind of when you got behind the scenes a little bit, as someone who played football in high school and stuff, and you kind of knew how some of that stuff works. Do you have like one of your biggest surprises or revelations, like, oh my gosh, this is how the pros do it? This is what the pros are like, and we never saw that in high school.
Yeah, the welcome to the NFL moment is what I call that, because players always end up with that. But it's just the understanding of, like, I was explaining this to my wife the other day, of like, how many hours do you think these guys work in a day? Not just at the facility, between film study at home, all the stuff that they do on. And I mean, there are guys who go home and dink around on their Xbox, no question. But for the most, like the quarterbacks, I remember listening to Tom Brady talk on, I think it was Colin Cowherd or something one time. And he was talking about how the Super Bowl they played against Kansas City when he was in Tampa Bay. And he said, I knew their defense inside and out, and not just the coverages they play, but like how these guys are going to move when I do whatever. And we're talking a movement from here to here or here to here, like very small, minute stuff that he knew that detail of. And I was like, okay, well, maybe that's just Tom Brady. He's the greatest quarterback that's ever played. Like, and he's a league of his own, and he is. But then I listened to Jordan Love talk about it, and then I listened to Xavier McKinney talk about it, and then I listened to Micah Parsons this year talk about just how much work goes into just being able to get dressed and play on Sunday afternoon. I think is an underappreciated fact by the general consumer, who thinks that, like, okay, Green Bay played on Thursday. Now we don't even really think about them that much outside of 2 hours of practice until next Sunday when they play Chicago. Right. And it's like, no, they're working 16, 17-hour days. And mind you, this team, so another one of those actually just happened kind of recently. Green Bay plays Minnesota, and I'm waiting in the locker room after the game for Parsons, because Parsons had 2.5 sacks and blew everything up against the Vikings that day. We had to wait like 40 minutes after the game was over, because he had to go from there to treatment, to massage, to whirlpool stuff immediately, because they had to play a game 4 days later. Like, just to get their body ready to perform at its peak performance in one setting. It's incredible. These guys are modern day gladiators. That's the best way I've heard it described.
Yeah. They're pretty stinking amazing. And they get a day off. But what do they do on their day off? They rehab their bodies.
Right.
They're working.
Yeah. So if you're hurt, which is everybody, then everybody's in for treatment.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I think we entered this season as Packers fans really with the highest expectations we've had in a long time. We saw a team that we felt this has to be this. They are Super Bowl ready right now. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of us forgot just how young these guys are. Still the youngest team in the NFL, or second youngest team in the NFL, if I remember right. So when they lose to teams like the Browns and the Panthers, what's going on? And what is going on? How do they lose to teams like that in a season like this?
Yeah. So what I would say to that is, if you watch, I call it kind of main character syndrome. So we sit and we watch one team and we see them lose one bad game. But I promise you, if you look at every team around the league has a game like that. Mm-hmm. The Rams are 9-2, and they blew a 20-plus point lead and granted it was Philly, but they still blew a 20-point lead to the Philadelphia Eagles early in the season and lost the game on a blocked field goal that was returned for a touchdown. So not great.
Didn't they lose to the Falcons or something like the other team? The other game was.
I don't know the Rams' other loss. I'd have to look to be sure, but it's not. I promise it's not like they lost to Denver or some team like that either. But I think every team has games like that. I think every team has losses like that. And Matt LaFleur says this all the time, and it's kind of waved off as like, yeah, man, whatever. But it is a week-to-week league. And, one like
The
Philadelphia.
49ers. It was the 49ers. They
Okay,
lost
so
in overtime.
that's right. It was a Thursday night game. Yeah. So, San Francisco, Green Bay. Like if you look at when you play a team, sometimes that matters too. Philadelphia's defense was dominant against Green Bay, 3 weeks ago now, and yesterday against Chicago, they get bludgeoned by their run game for 250 plus yards. Like sometimes it is just kind of when you play them. That being said, I do think there are some fair questions to be had. Green Bay's play style is one that kind of lends itself to allowing inferior teams to hang around. Their offense, they play very slow. I think their pace since Matt LaFleur has been the head coach is like in the bottom third of the league. They were 22nd this year as of a couple weeks ago in terms of just one snap to the next.
My brother-in-law freaks out at the play clock every day. He's like, why do they always wait till 1 second left to snap the ball? Why?
Right. And that was widely dismissed as that's a Rodgers thing, but it seems like it's kind of just a Packers thing. So their operation in and out of the huddle does that. They want to establish running the football and then playing everything off of that, which I kind of understand. But that's not really the team that they have built currently. They've been better in recent weeks in that phase of the game. But that desire to kind of play that style limits possessions and allows worse teams, if you will, to hang around because the possessions are now limited. And normally the more stuff there is that can happen in a game, the more chances for a team that's more talented, which Green Bay is more talented than a pretty good majority of the teams they play, will kind of win out. The way they play, and by conversely, the way teams want to play against them, they want to play the way Minnesota did in the first half of last week's game, where they want to run it. They don't want to get into drop back passing mode because you saw as soon as that game got to 17-6 and they had to play traditional drop back passing, well, here comes Micah Parsons and Devontae Wyatt and Rashawn Gary and all these guys that are going to come and try and eat the quarterback. So you can't play that way against them. So with that all being said, I think that's kind of how is their play style could do that. I think LaFleur maybe had a little bit of change of heart, not really the right way to word that, but the way he approached that game Thursday against Detroit was, we're giving the keys to the quarterback that we paid $50 million for. We've got all these receivers out here, and they're going to get a couple back, and we're going to chuck it around the lot. And Josh Jacobs, you're a really, really good complementary piece for when it's time to try and salt this thing away late in the game. And that's something when I think him missing last week's game will be a big boon for them down the stretch as he gets some fresh legs potentially here in the stretch run for December. He'll have played one game in the last 2.5 weeks because he missed the game against Minnesota and played on just Thursday. So they have this mini bye here, but I think that'll be big for them. I think that the approach that they had on Thursday against Detroit is the way that they're going to have to play against the better teams here down the stretch, because they've got their next 5 games. The only team they play that's under 500 is Minnesota.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. The best stat that came out of that game was Green Bay 3 for 3 on fourth down. Yep. Detroit 0 for 2. The significance of the 3 for 3 on first down is that they threw a fourth down pass play. They had 2 touchdowns out of fourth down. Yeah. 2 touchdowns on fourth down, which is funny because Detroit last year, I think it was in the second game they played, had 4 touchdowns on fourth down.
They were 5 for 6 on fourth downers. I don't remember the exact number, but they had 5 fourth down conversions, and it completely flipped the script this year.
4 of which, exactly. 4 of which went for touchdowns last year. And it's granted, they were 1 yard, 2 yard, whatever. And a couple of them were just, fall into the end zone. But that's almost like, okay, Dan Campbell, that's a taste of your own medicine there, buddy. You like it. I love that. I absolutely love that, because that is exactly, you hit it spot on with LaFleur. I think he's hearing the chirping that, you know what, stop being conservative. Let's just run it down their throat. Let's put our foot on their chest and say, no, we're done. You're not going to beat us this way. We're going to beat you this way. And that was very encouraging. Moving forward, nothing but good for the Green Bay Packers.
I'm excited that they are taking those risks. And like you said, giving the keys to this quarterback they're paying all this money for and giving him the opportunity to show or blow. And he's been showing. So let's go. You mentioned that the rest of their schedule is really, really tough, except for the Vikings. That should be a win, but don't count them out ever. Now that we've hopefully learned from these losses to the Browns and the Panthers, and the crazy tie with the Cowboys.
That was the game where if you wanted to criticize Matt LaFleur, I feel like there was plenty of ammo there. Early in the game, he punted on a 4th and 2, citing how well his defense was playing, to which I was like, okay, so if you don't pick up the first down, then your defense can just play well from there. But that's a separate point. And then the entire approach of overtime with that series, in my opinion, was he was so terrified of Brandon Aubrey kicking a 75-yard field goal as time expired that like they just ran their offense as if they didn't want Dallas to get the ball back, which if they had just scored a touchdown, Dallas would not have gotten the ball back. So that to me was that is the worst game that LaFleur has had. And Jordan Love by extension too. It's not just one person who's on that, but just from a game management standpoint, hopefully that's something that, like you said, they kind of learned from and are able to. These next 5, like you said, Chicago twice, Denver, Baltimore at home, and then at Minnesota.
Was that a case? I was curious if maybe that was a case where, but because Parsons was returning to Dallas, if he did not play up to his potential just because he was distracted by that. I don't know. I was trying to look for excuses maybe. And
well, they double teamed the daylights out of him. Yeah. I mean, they just kept him at bay the whole time.
They got triple team last week too, and he still got a sack. So there's Micah Parsons.
Dak Prescott also played. But Dak Prescott is, I think, he went from like overrated when he became the starter in Dallas to where now there were people when the Cowboys traded for Joe Milton asking like, could he take the starting job from Dak Prescott? Dak Prescott's an MVP candidate. Anytime he's been healthy the last 3 years, he's on the fringe, but in that conversation of is he the MVP of the NFL, he's very good. And he's a guy who if Dallas can get into the playoffs, that is not a quarterback you want to see as the team who's favored. If you prefer, if you're ranking quarterbacks you trust in the NFC playoffs, Matt Stafford is probably number 1, Jordan Love probably right after that, but Prescott is right on that range of somebody who you do not see because he's fearless and he's really good. And they have 2 really good receivers. So he's really good. So I think that was a big part of Green Bay's kind of debacle there against Dallas there. And they still should have won.
How do you feel about a tie?
They should have won. It should not have even went into overtime.
What's your feeling about a tie?
It's professional sports. So, ties are for soccer. Not to I have respect for the sport of soccer, but that's kind of how I feel about that. I don't think it should be.
Yeah.
Well, a 2-2 game in soccer. Wow, that was a barn burner.
Right.
So yeah.
All right.
Well, even hockey got smart enough to pretty much eliminate ties. You do your overtime and then you do your shootouts, and yes, there are a few ties. But it used to be 25 victories, 14 losses, and 15 ties. Mm-hmm. Why? Why didn't you go out there and play for 60 minutes and then come away with a tie?
Right.
It's like everybody gets a ninth place blue ribbon. Here you go. No. Nope.
Well, as I was mentioning pre-game here today, how I've been using AI for some fun stuff for the show. And one of the things that I ask AI for is some questions for our guests. So I told Gemini this morning that I was interviewing you and that you worked for Sports Illustrated Packers Central, part of the SI network, and you're deeply involved in covering the Green Bay Packers. So based on your work, these are the 3 questions AI gave me for you today, Jacob. So let's see what for us. Your work for Packers Central often goes deep. Analysis like stock reports and report cards, considering the sheer volume of daily content required by all this crazy digital property stuff that we have going on these days, especially with a major network like Sports Illustrated. How do you manage to balance the need for timely, high-frequency news with the in-depth original analysis that builds credibility with your dedicated audience? Ooh, this is a deep question right off the bat from AI.
Yeah, that's a good one, considering a robot wrote it. So to answer the question, so during the game, I have a notepad and I just kind of keep track of and the one big thing that I went into the game with on Thursday was Tom had mentioned the 4th down stuff. So I kept track of every 3rd and 4th down that each team had as just something to keep an eye on as the game went. And that ended up being a huge part of the story. Sometimes that works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes you work ahead and you have to rewrite your entire story and quickly. I remember my first ever Packers home game was that way because it was Jordan Love's first start at Lambeau. they were losing 17-0
To the
and
Saints.
and I'm writing a Packers suck, Jordan Love sucks-esque story. Can I say that? I don't know, whatever. But
Yeah.
Sure.
okay. Like I'm writing a story similar to that, and then the comeback happens, and I'm like backspace, and it's like I'm starting from scratch. Like,
Yeah.
so sometimes that works out. The way that I kind of say for original analysis and stuff like that, what I do is my social media apps, my text messages, it all goes blank. So if you text me during a game, I'm just probably not going to answer you.
And you should.
It's not personal. That's just kind of how it is. Think of it as like you're at your day job. You're probably not answering your phone as quickly as possible. So that way somebody's not putting into my brain what their opinion is on play XYZ. And the internet seems to be a bit of an echo chamber. Everybody kind of thinks and feels the same things about every decision that's made. And it's always whatever decision was made was a bad one.
Yeah.
So that's the way that kind of works. As far as working timely, sometimes you can. The Minnesota game on Sunday was pretty easy. Once it was 17-6, the game was over. Sometimes you can't. The game on Thursday wasn't over until the final snap of the game. So those are the fun ones because it kind of gives you that rush of the deadline. But you kind of keep in track of stuff that way. And then originality, to me, like I said, it's just as simple as my takes are the only things that come out of my mouth or out of my keyboard in this case. And that's how I keep it original.
Are you expected to post a story post game within a certain number of hours?
Yeah. So the way that it kind of works, it's kind of up to Bill. But the way that it usually works is, so like a home game, he has a game story that like is just, it updates everything throughout the game. So like Jordan Love throws a touchdown pass to Christian Watson. It's 7-0 Packers. And then the next one, it's like, he'll do that all the way through until the end of the game. And then once that game's over, that's where he lets that breathe for about 5 minutes. And then my story is supposed to go up behind it. He kind of likes the idea of having something up as soon as the game is over. And then my report card, that usually is a little bit more involved just because if I'm at the game, I like to add player quotes, coach quotes. So once the game's over, I'll go from upstairs, I go all the way down, and then I'll be either in the podium with Matt LaFleur and Jordan Love, or I'll go in the locker room and talk to the players. It just kind of depends how the game went. I decide what the best course of action is on that front.
So you're the recap specialist. Bill needs you to recap all the stuff that's gone on.
A little bit. I do get to do some original stuff too. So like earlier in the year, they won when they beat Detroit the first time this season. I did locker room after the game, and Rashawn Gary stuck around, and I was able to talk to him. It was his first time ever being a captain. So I got to do something like that. Or my personal favorite story that I've ever written, my Twitter handle that's just my name, but it's my pinned tweet. It's a story about Chris Gizzy. And if you guys remember the first game after 9/11 in 2001, Gizzy ran out of the tunnel. It was a Monday night game. There's heightened security, all this stuff. And Gizzy ran out of the tunnel with the American flag, and he was a former Air Force veteran. So his job on that Tuesday of 9/11 was he was like going to schools and stuff like that and like kind of recruiting for the Air Force or serving the Air Force. That was his day off from being an NFL player. So he kind of just took me through what that was like, what it was like, how the idea came to do that, which was all Mike Sherman's idea to get him on the field with that. So I got to do something original on that, which is it's my favorite story I've ever written.
That's cool.
To be very honest. Yeah, Gizzy was awesome. He talked to me for about an hour. Didn't have to give me more than 10 minutes, and he gave me an hour. So,
do you know where he is today?
He is in Tennessee. He lives down by Jacob Bach.
Does he?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. He lives in the Bach-Kaler area. Is what I think it's called. Franklin, Tennessee, is where he told me.
Franklin, Tennessee.
Yeah,
area?
his son's playing middle school, high school football, and yeah. So I got to talk to him a little bit about what he's doing now, because he was the strength coach for the Packers until about 2 years ago, and he said it was a time where like both of them. It sounds like, hey, you're fired or resign kind of thing, but he said it really was just it was a good time for me to leave, and they wanted to go in a different direction too, so it worked out really well for him that way.
I remember him running out of the tunnel. I couldn't come up with his name. I never would have come up with his name.
No.
I would have thought maybe Brett Favre or somebody. No, it wasn't Brett Favre. He wasn't there.
So
yeah, it was
2001.
Yeah, Favre was a quarterback.
Yeah, of course he was.
They played Washington. They won 38-0, and nobody remembers anything about the game, but they remember that.
They remember that.
Mm-hmm.
So the second question of these three that I got from AI today actually has to do with the transition. You covered a lot of Aaron Rodgers' career and the transition to Jordan Love. How does a beat reporter adjust their sources or approach your expectation level when covering a team that has transitioned from a future Hall of Famer to a young emerging quarterback? That had to be an interesting transition.
It was cool. Yeah, it was kind of cool because you kind of get to wipe the slate clean because Jordan's like a brand new person, a brand new player. It's like meeting somebody kind of for the first time. And frankly, I was fortunate. We are fortunate as a media group. Jordan, Aaron Rodgers was great with the media. I don't want to make it sound like he wasn't. I also keep in mind when I say this that I'm as objective as I can be, but I do also care about whether or not the team wins or loses. So they have feelings that emerge as storylines and stuff like that happen. By the end of Rodgers' tenure in Green Bay, it very much did feel like there's Aaron Rodgers and then there's the other 52 guys. And that was kind of a weird way to, and I wasn't covering the team for SI at the time, just some of my other stuff. So I wasn't in the stadium as often as I am now. But with Love coming in, it was kind of I always called that year, that was the respite of the Super Bowl bust expectation, because 2023, if you were a Packers fan and said like, oh no, I expect them to go to the Super Bowl, you were probably kidding yourself. And if I stuck some truth serum in you, your answer probably was, I have no idea if Jordan Love's going to be any good. So it was like each week the stakes were so high of that 2023 season, because the answer to the question at the end of the season was, how good is Jordan Love? And is he good enough to where if Green Bay stinks, remember that draft class, that was Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels and Drake May and JJ McCarthy and Bo Nix and all Michael Penix and all these quarterbacks that were coming out. Would Green Bay have replaced him after just one full season? I don't know. We'll never have to know the answer to that question because he was incredible at the end of the season. But it was, like I said, it was kind of like wiping the slate clean and watching a brand new movie for the first time, because the Rodgers era by that point, you kind of knew how the movie was going to
end. The script.
Yeah. Like to me, in my opinion, I don't know how you guys felt in the moment, but once they lost to San Francisco, that 2021 season, I was like, it's over. Like if they couldn't win a championship with this team, this roster, home field advantage against the team they were better than, they're not going to.
That night hurt. That was bad.
Well, the worst part about that is he throws into double, possibly triple coverage to Davante Adams. The ball is missed. It's now fourth down. The fourth down play was when San Francisco blocked the punt, scored the touchdown, tied it 10-10. What people don't realize is that Ellen Lazard was open and there wasn't anybody for two counties near him. All he has to do is flip it to Lazard. We're up 17-3 with about 6 or 7 minutes left. That's ball game. We go to the Super Bowl. I believe that was that the NFC Championship game, or was it the divisional?
No, they were one and done that year.
Divisional. Okay. But we move on, and that is our year. That is our year. I agree with you 100%. We were a better team than San Francisco, and I don't remember who San Francisco ended up going to the Super Bowl.
No, they lost to the Rams the following week. The Packers had already clobbered the Rams at Lambeau earlier that year. And
you're right. Yes. Was that the year the Rams lost 13-3 then to
no, they won.
To New England?
They beat Cincinnati that year in the Super Bowl, who the Packers had also already beaten that season. So, like I said, if they weren't going to – I actually wrote unfortunately, for other reasons, I'll never forget why I wrote this column, but I wrote this column on the Sunday after – and it published on the Monday, and that was January 24th, 2022. And it was, my column was basically just, it's time to move on. And I said I would have traded Aaron Rodgers. I don't know if they would have traded Davante Adams and all that stuff. I wasn't thinking about that at the time, I guess. But I said I would have traded Rodgers and sink or swim with Jordan Love. And maybe the answer is sink. I said I also understood why they weren't going to do that, because no person ever has traded the reigning league MVP and Brian Gutekunst and the relatively notoriously conservative, which is kind of funny to think about it in that context now with the Michael Parsons trade, but the Green Bay Packers were not going to be the first team to trade arguably the greatest player in franchise history and the reigning back-to-back league MVP. So I understood why they wouldn't do it, but that is what I would have done at that point.
Crazy to think, but it was time to blow it up and get new blood.
And they're fortunate, but I did also say, and meeting Jordan Love, I do like when my instinct ends up being true in real life. My instinct with Love of reading stories about. So Tyler Dunn wrote a really good story for Go Long about Jordan Love. That was like his first post with the team, and I think that was in 2020. But it was basically like, here's who Jordan Love is through like people that know him and all that stuff. Love had a unfortunate story. His father actually took his own life and quite a while ago. It was in July of like Jordan was like 13 or something. Like Jordan wrote his own story in the Players Tribune about it, so I'll let him speak for himself. But I always said if Love was not going to be good, it wasn't going to be because he was rattled or afraid of the moment or he didn't have the right stuff, if you will, internally. And he doesn't waver. You know, he's unflappable in that way. And off the field, just to give you guys kind of a peek behind he is a better person than he is player. And he's a really, really, I want to say this too, he's a really, really good player. So saying he's a better person is saying something.
What I was going to say, you actually said exactly what I was going to say. He has ice water in his veins. I watch him play, and he goes up to the line, and he's like, okay. And you could feel the calmness on him. I'm watching this game against Detroit, and he's looking around and, okay, let's do this, let's do that, positioning guys, and then he gets the ball and he throws a 14-yard first down. Absolutely amazing.
Yeah. No, he has thrown interceptions and come right back again. So yeah, it's good to see. So, all right, we got one more AI question for you. Do you need to go?
No, they're just running out of patience. That's all, which is fine. They know the deal.
They know the deal. All right, so
I got some stuff for you too.
The third question, before we get to something funny, the third question is: you have a background working in local newspapers in Green Bay and in Rockford, right?
Yep.
Before focusing on national outlets like SI. How did the local beat reporter experience influence your work ethic and approach to journalism? It got a big lesson that you learned in the smaller market before getting into the national stuff?
Yeah, so I think that stuff, it's easy to cover the National Football League, right? Because there's so many outlets, there's so many things you can do. You can watch it on TV. I can do it right from my chair right here, right? The beat stuff or the local stuff that I did, I was mostly a stringer for, that's a freelancer for those that don't know the term, I guess. The Register Star here in Rockford. I never wrote for the Press Gazette when I worked in Green Bay a little bit. I just kind of answered phones. And then I did some stuff for the DeKalb Daily Chronicle as well. So it's just kind of that, pull up your bootstraps grind that you kind of think about with some of that stuff. I remember I covered a high school football game and I had to write my story and email it by a deadline at a McDonald's. I had to drive to a McDonald's in Kirkland and finish it there because I didn't have any internet to be able to do it there. So mind you, the game goes as it does. I have to get my quotes from the coaches that night and everything and players. And then I have to sprint somewhere to find all that. It's a very fast paced thing. It's just kind of learning to manage your time and everything like that. And you kind of learn how badly do you want to do the journalism part of things, or do you just want to like skip to the front of the line and be Adam Schefter or Ian Rappaport, somebody like that? And there's only one or two of those guys. So you got to figure those things out. But it was a lot of fun. I do miss some of that stuff sometimes. I was following along yesterday with Byron State Championship game. And I thought what a cool experience it would have been to cover that. Great game if you guys didn't see that either. But
no,
they won 56-50. And they had a late like goal line stand. And there was a play where kid caught a touchdown, but his foot was it was basically like the toe was out of bounds and that was it. Otherwise they would have lost potentially. So a lot of fun. I enjoyed the high school stuff and covering stuff like that. And just kind of seeing where some of that stuff went. But that's kind of where it is it's learning how badly do you want to do it? Because you go to a college journalism class and they say like, well, what do you want to do? It's like, well, I want to cover the National Football League. It's like, well, that's great. There's only so many people that do that and do that for a living. So you got to kind of learn. Sometimes you find different paths along the way too. So I'm fortunate. I didn't have to do that, but had I had to do that, I really did enjoy that too.
Cool. All right. So before Tom's thing here, this is the funny or odd question that AI gave me. There is, as a journalist, you're committed to objectivity. Obviously, you said you care if the team wins or loses, but when it comes to the players, the teams, you're being objective and using facts.
Yes.
But be honest, do you have a personal, completely irrational superstition or ritual or lucky piece of clothing that you make sure you have just right when the Packers have a critical game coming up or a fourth down stop that they need to perform?
I used to do those things when I was at home just watching a game. I would have I wore the same hat. My jersey that I wore would have to match the color the team was wearing that day, all that kind of stuff. Now, not really. The only thing I made sure of, I have a necklace with my dad's ashes in them. So I made sure I had that when they played Philadelphia here. That was his team when he was living a couple weeks ago. So I made sure I had that. But otherwise, yeah, most of that stuff doesn't happen superstitiously or anything like that. I guess I'm more kind of rooting for what's the best story I can get out of this for a given game. Sometimes you're rooting for like Sunday when they played Minnesota. Josh Jacobs had some great quotes about playing herd and what that requires and all that stuff. And my angle I was going to take on that was like, you're the team captain. Does that mean anything extra? And oddly enough, I remember like Zadarius Smith talking about that when he first came to Green Bay. So I wanted to write a story on that. Well, then he's inactive, so I can't do that. So my superstition for that particular day didn't work. But I used to do that. Not so much anymore.
Okay. All right. Well, there's some other ones here too, Tom, but I know you wanted to get to something. So let's go to your stuff.
Well, I got a few things. You just answered one of my questions. Why is there an Eagles jersey behind you?
Yeah,
I know.
Yeah, that is actually cool story. Once upon a time when I was doing this with you guys, it was Game On Wisconsin that I was the owner of.
Remember that? Yeah.
Yeah. So one of my friends, right after my dad passed away, ordered this jersey for me. He asked me randomly, like, what year was he born? And I was like, why the hell do you want to know that? But okay.
1976.
67. Yeah. So,
67. Okay. Oh, you know what? It is backwards because the Westendorf starts there and goes that way.
Yeah. So he made that for me, and then I got it framed. So that's why the Eagle jersey's back there. I have some of my dad's old Eagle gear and stuff like that too. So I root for them when they're not playing the Packers.
I have my dad's flag up there from Korea. So yeah. It's not in the shot, but one of these days I will redo the background and put it in the shot. But that's great. That is awesome.
The hat in the chair behind me is the hat my dad wore in the Army, by the way. That's in the 101 QFL chair right there.
Yeah.
QFL.
Jake, you got a shout out by apparently your pal Brandon Snide.
That's my guy.
Yeah. I was watching Locked On Packers. It was the squad show.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever caught it.
Yeah, I know Brandon and Peter.
Peter's awesome. Obviously,
Tom's a huge fan of Peter Bukowski. He wants to be.
I am a huge fan of Peter Bukowski. You know why?
I'll let him know. I talk to him every day.
Please let him know there's a guy in Rockford that absolutely watches with. I never miss.
You'd love to take him to lunch.
The reason I'd love that. I'd love to actually sit down with him, but it's probably never going to happen.
He's like 6'5", so that might jar you. I'll let you know. Ooh. He's way tall.
Well, I'm 6'3", so
you'll be all right.
Maybe just a little.
The first thing I ever said to him was like, "You're taller than I expected." I don't know why I thought that he wasn't going to be that tall, but he is. He's a giant.
Yeah.
Cool.
He lives in New York, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he's talked about him and his son went to the Giants game the other day. Anyway, what I like most about him, he'll give you all of these stats, but he doesn't talk over you. He doesn't talk down to you. He just basically, he'll explain it. He says, I know you probably don't know what DVOA means or this or that, but this is basically what it is. And I love that because it makes me feel like I'm actually, he's like talking to me. He's very good at what he does. But anyway, Brandon Snide said, well, my pal Jacob Westendorf, I know him. He's my pal too.
Brandon helped me buy my Harley. Brandon's an Army vet. It's actually his birthday today, oddly enough. So happy birthday, Brandon.
Happy birthday, Brandon. It's Now I have a question for you that kind of goes back, completely speculation, but it was widely noted that Aaron Rodgers and Matt LaFleur kind of butted heads. They didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And as I'm watching the Packers these last couple of years going, you know what? LaFleur needs to open it up, just like he did against Detroit. I'm hoping that this is the beginning of something wonderful. Like he's now starting to open it up. I'm wondering if it was just simply because, all these issues we've had was because Matt LaFleur just didn't want to open it up. And Rodgers is like, no, I'm going to throw deep. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And that's what ended the rift between them. Jordan Love, being a nice guy, not wanting to make any waves, doesn't say anything. And this is why it looks like they get along so great. I'm sure they do. I'm sure they absolutely love one another. But I'm wondering if Matt LaFleur is now starting to realize maybe what Aaron Rodgers was saying. Maybe he wasn't right all the time, but maybe there was some element of truth to it, and maybe I needed to do that. That's all I'm saying. That's what I'm asking. Kind of asking you. What do you think?
Yeah. So the other thing to remember when LaFleur came here to coach Aaron Rodgers was he was a first-time head coach with no track record, and Aaron Rodgers had 2 MVP trophies and a Super Bowl on his mantle. So there was some give and take that was necessary, and I think it was important that LaFleur recognized that. I think one of the most impressive things that LaFleur has done in his tenure as Packers coach is kind of manage the Aaron Rodgers of it all, and then the transition from Rodgers to Love, because I've said this before. I don't know this. Nobody told me this, but it just makes sense from a common sense standpoint. When the Packers traded Rodgers in 23, there were players still in that locker room that thought their best path to winning right now was Rodgers to be the quarterback. Yeah. And for LaFleur to get that buy-in, like that could have gone sour very quickly. I remember before that season started, I wrote a story that basically said this could all be one big one and done. Like LaFleur, Goody, and Love, if they go 4-13, I mean, and remember they were 3-6, they were 4-8, like, or 6-6, whatever. They were not good for a stretch in that season.
They were 6-8, and then they went, and then they won the last 3, and they were 9-8. Yeah,
right. So to get that buy-in and keep the team kind of afloat during that stretch while it was going to be kind of bumpy, I think that's the greatest thing Matt LaFleur has done in his tenure. And then not only that, but like I said, the Aaron Rodgers of it all before that, where Rodgers, his second and third season with LaFleur, won back-to-back MVPs, and it was largely, a kind of a resurgence because the end of Rodgers at McCarthy and the first year under LaFleur was kind of bumpy too. Didn't look like the Aaron Rodgers of, 2015, 2016, where he was the league MVP he didn't win it in 2016, but, that level of player. So, Jordan Love, when he comes over as the starter, I don't think it was uncommon at all for the quarterback not to have control of the line of scrimmage. And that's something that this year, somebody told me in August was like, what's the biggest difference? They said Jordan Love is in total control he knows what to do, where to go, like kind of Aaron Rodgers-esque in terms of just knowing the offense inside and out. So I'm not big on criticizing play calling just because there's so many things where like, Jordan Love goes like this at the line of scrimmage. He calls one play versus another, or is it a dummy call? There's just so many things that go into each given play as to, I can talk about an approach, should you throw the ball more than you run it more, vice versa. But, I think play calling is a lot of times it ends up being angry man yelling at a cloud, and you can't explain why you didn't like the play call more so than just it didn't work, which admittedly LaFleur says all the time, it's a results-based business. So I understand that.
It is. You win a ball game, you're a genius. You lose a ball game, you're an idiot. So, absolutely.
My favorite seasons of watching the Packers play were those seasons where they were constantly scoring over 30 points. Rodgers was on his game, and the team was they were out there just throttling their opponents basically almost every week, just saying, hey, we are better than you. You're not going to outscore us. And I think that's probably as a fan, biggest frustration right now is I feel like we have a coach that isn't trying to score 30 plus points a game. He's trying to run the clock out more and just win the game by attrition more than by points, by throttling the other team. I could be completely wrong, but that's how it feels because of the scores that are popping up on my screen every week. So I don't know how, is there a philosophy that you think that am I way off base by even thinking that?
No, I think that kind of goes back to the play style stuff we were talking about earlier where, one of my friends has a joke where he says if once LaFleur gets a 2-score lead, he would pop the air out of the football completely if you would let him. There was a joke a week or so ago that LaFleur's ideal perfect season is going 17-0 with a plus 17 point differential. And there is some truth to it doesn't matter if you win by 1 or 100. But that being said, there are games where that has bit them. And like I said, I think their play style is something where playing a little bit faster would just allow them some more opportunities at possessions and keeping the ball or getting more opportunities at the ball. Because we've talked about it before, how LaFleur will go to the podium and say, like, well, we only had like 3 possessions in the first half. And I'll be like, yeah, some of that is because the defense couldn't get off the field. Some of that is because of the way you want to play football. So there's been some adjustment there. I think I'm interested to see how that works going into December.
So Luke Musgrave, I've heard, I think it was Peter Bukowski who said it, and I watch a lot of podcasts. They said Luke Musgrave, and this is exactly true, he's not a good blocker. He's not a Tucker Kraft type guy that's going to get a screen pass and get you 12 yards after catch. He's just not that kind of guy.
Nope.
His claim to fame is he's fast. He's faster than Tucker Kraft, and he's got decent hands, although he missed a couple the other day in the Giants game, I think it was. Anyway, get him running down the field. Well, they did that. In the last game. He only had a couple of catches, but they were down the field. He had a really, really nice catch. He might have only had just the one. He had a really super nice catch where he kind of went and grabbed the ball. That was a first down. And that is what we need to do. So this, to me, tells me that LaFleur is starting to kind of figure these things out. I don't want to say figure these things out like, well, gee, Matt, we've already figured them out. Come on board. I don't mean it that way at all. He calls a good game, I think. I think he called an exceptional game against Detroit. But do you see that as as something like maybe some improvement? I mean,
yeah, potentially. Musgrave, mind you, holds the Packers rookie record for receptions by a tight end. Like his first season, it was Tucker Kraft was not Tucker Kraft. It was a little bit different that first year, and Musgrave was ahead of him. Then Musgrave got hurt. Kraft kind of came in and took his opportunity, and then last season Kraft was ahead of Musgrave most of the year. Musgrave was kind of dinged again. I think he had an ankle injury last year. That's kind of been the book on Musgrave, is he's been struggling with injuries in his career. But you're right, he's not a inline tight end. He is a big wide receiver. Jimmy Graham, Mike Gesicki, players of that ilk. Trying to stretch the field. So if the Packers are going to play more of a spread them out, throw it around style, then that kind of fits Musgrave. If they still want to play 2 tight ends, run the ball down your throat, illusion of complexity is what LaFleur always called it, stuff like that, tying everything to the run game, it's kind of hard to keep Musgrave on the field because, like you said, blocking just kind of not his thing. They've kind of deferred to Josh Wiley and John Fitzpatrick in that regard over the last couple of weeks, and then doing 6 offensive lineman package. So I'm interested to see what they do. I'm interested to see what they do with Musgrave down the stretch. I know that there was some interest in trading. Some teams wanted to trade for him at the deadline. Ultimately, then Tucker Kraft tore his ACL, so the Packers couldn't do it. No. I don't know if they would have done it, but I would not be surprised if that is a mutual, like, the Musgrave would welcome a trade and the Packers will just get a 6th round pick or something like that they can for him and just say, it's not going to work here for you.
I think he's entering his 5th year. He's in his 5th year now. Is that or 4th? And so
he'll be a free agent after next season.
Okay. All right. So now's the time to do it, really. And if Tucker Kraft comes back and he's healthy, and you maybe pick up another tight end in the draft, or maybe you find another one somewhere out there in the waiver wire. So I don't know. That's just my take on it. Anthony Belton, what a great game he had. I am done with Jordan Morgan. I am done with the Jordan Morgan experience. Anthony Belton. Okay, so Aiden Hutchinson didn't touch Jordan Love. 0 sacks. 0 sacks for Detroit. What do we have? Micah Parsons alone at 2.5. What do we have? 4 sacks for the game?
I think that, one got nullified, so I think it was 3.
Yeah.
Officially 3.
As far as I'm concerned, Anthony Belton is your guy. I actually like Sean Ryan, right? Sean Ryan at center.
Yeah.
I love Elton Jenkins, but I didn't like the move. I wanted him to stay where he was. And I don't know what you do. Maybe when he comes back, he won't be back probably. I don't think they're going to re-sign him. So
no, and he's injured.
Well, I mean, coming back next year. He's going to be traded.
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I don't think he'll be back. No.
No, right. That's what I'm saying. I don't think he'll be back because he's in the contract year, and I think they can live without him. He's great. I love the guy, but I think moving him around was a bad move. They wanted to get Jordan Morgan some reps, And Jordan Morgan has not panned out as far as I'm concerned. Anthony Belton had a great game. He had a great game, except one holding penalty, but that's okay. I don't care about that. That's, holding is so specious anyway. It's called differently by every single ref. Uh, And
Any
the other
play.
thing the thing that drives me nuts, and I saw this in yesterday's game, I saw it in the Packer Detroit game on Thursday. You've got Keyshawn Nixon got called for a pass interference because he hit the guy after 5 yards. I contend that the Detroit receiver, and I don't remember who it was, hit him, ran into him. That's contact between the both of them. I saw this yesterday in the Bear game. Colston Loveland comes up and he actually pushes the defender down and goes and catches the ball first down. Kept the drive alive. Oh my God! You can't do that as a receiver as well as a. You can't engage contact after 5 yards, can you? Because if you can, that's so unfair. Because what is the defender supposed to do? Go, oh, no, don't touch me, don't touch me. Because I'm shaking my head going, where's the call? What am I missing here?
That different men are watching the play on a different time. So I mean,
yeah.
it happens. I don't spend much time complaining about penalties and stuff like that, just because it is the one complaint that I did have on the Nixon play is that I think illegal contact, like you mentioned, is as subjective as it is. And it just feels like it's thrown kind of randomly. But control what you can and the officials won't matter. That's kind of what I always say, dating back to the Hail Mary.
Okay, I can live with the Hail Mary. Oh, we started on that. I can live with that. But the one that really bothered me is you had that perfect shot of the ref's head right here looking at the play. His arm, Christian Watson's hand is being held, and he's trying to catch the ball with one hand. Oh, dear God. And that was a third down play that would have extended the drive that could have just, as Wayne Larrabee would say, there is your dagger. It could have been the dagger. I don't know. That might have been earlier, too early for that, but doesn't matter. The play should have been called, and the ref is looking right at it. What are you seeing? What are you seeing that I'm not seeing, dude? Come on. Anyway, I wanted to ask you. Go ahead, Greg.
I was going to say, we need to land this plane. So if we're going to do some trivia, let's do that, or one more question, and we'll wrap things up.
Oh, well, trivia is not football trivia, but we can do that. But I want to know, from your perspective, are the Bears for real or are they not for real? I've been saying smoke and mirrors most of the year because they've had 4 games that they probably shouldn't have won. They've had a couple.
Ben Johnson's good. Ben Johnson's good, but is he a head coach good? That's, I guess, the question.
Yeah, I do think he is. So I think Johnson's a good coach. I think they have some traits that are similar to like Carolina. We talked about earlier how Carolina can be kind of spry and upset minded. So when you can run the ball in shortened games the way Chicago can, Carolina did that against Green Bay, and they take the ball away on defense, that is something that has served them well. In Chicago, it's been a feast for takeaways. And they've got defensive backs with really good ball skills. So that to me is like the biggest key of the game coming up here between Green Bay and Chicago is Green Bay able to take care of the football? They've been good at that for most of the season. So that part gets interesting because Chicago's defense from like play to play is not as good as you might think they are. I think ultimately for Chicago, if you're a Bears fan right now, first of all, my thoughts and prayers are with you. But my second thought on that is that anything from here that happens is gravy, because this was a building season where it's like, did you find the right head coach? It appears the answer to that question is yes. Did you find the quarterback? The jury's still kind of out on that, in my opinion. We'll see what the deal with Caleb Williams is. There's a long way to go. Football games are not – growth is not linear is what I always say, so it doesn't mean that he wasn't going to be a superstar this season.
And he didn't get the luxury of Jordan Love getting to sit 3 years behind him.
Right. So he had a lot of stuff to fix. I think there was a lot of things that people weren't willing to admit that he had to fix coming out of college. Like we just kind of pitched him as this perfect prospect that he'll just be great right away. And then when he wasn't, it's like, oh my God, what's wrong with him? Anything from here for Chicago, in my opinion, is gravy. So they've won 9 games. Even if they lose the rest of their games, you can pitch that as, okay, they had a dud of a finish, but they did have a winning season for the first time in 7 years. That being said, I do anticipate Chicago making the playoffs.
I agree.
how are they going to make it? What seed, everything like that. I think the Packers are going to win the NFC North. So that gives you the 2 or the 3 seed, depending on how things shake out with the NFC East and Philadelphia and Dallas and all that good stuff. Does Chicago get the 6 or the 7 seed? That might come down to the San Francisco game that they play here in a couple weeks at the end of the year. And are they able to split with these Packers potentially winning at Lambeau Field or Soldier Field? We'll kind of see. I think you're going to learn a lot about the Bears in the next couple weeks. But they do have some traits, like I said, that make things difficult on you. That run game they have is very, very real. It's not just they're committed to it and they run it 40 times for 160 yards, which is just dead average for a crack. Like yesterday, that team that they played yesterday has the reputation of like the biggest bully on the block, and they kind of bullied them, and that was impressive because Philly's a team who, like I mentioned at the top here, I think Philly's seems ripe kind of for a collapse, but that is a good team. That's kind of a signature win here for Chicago early on. Now they have a chance to get another one here at Lambeau Field. But if you're asking me, like, I think in a full season scope, Detroit is probably better than Chicago, but Detroit's been dinged with some injuries. They've struggled with a lot of stuff throughout the year. And I actually think Detroit's window is kind of closing, if you will. I think that I will not be surprised next year if they're like a 9-8, miss the playoffs kind of team.
Yeah. All right. Well, any final thoughts before we wrap things up? We kept you longer than I expected to, and
that's probably my own fault. So I'm as wordy as, but no, just this is kind of what you ask for. You sign up for. Are the games meaningful when you get to December? And they are. And with this year's Packers team, like last year, I feel like the book was kind of written on them by this point of the year because they had a chance to, maybe not by this point of the year, but close to. By this point of the year, or as close to, they had a chance to kind of flip the script of, can you win a big game? And last year they were Minnesota, Detroit, and Philadelphia. Those were the 3 teams that were the best teams in the NFC. And they were 0-6 against them. They got blown out by Minnesota twice. They got blown out by Detroit once. I know what the final scores say. Go watch those games again. They got blown out by those teams in those games. Philadelphia kind of beat them up pretty good in the playoffs as well. I don't know how you guys felt going in the game. I didn't think the Packers had a chance at all against Philadelphia in the playoff game.
No, it was hoping against hope.
This year, the only big game, quote unquote, so far that they've lost is at home against Philadelphia. And otherwise
10-7.
Yeah, otherwise 3-0 in the division. They have a big one this Sunday against Chicago. I think this team's mettle has been proven a little bit more so this year than last year's team. The biggest thing is just if the coach allows the quarterback to play, bold, maybe you can call it that. I know what I just said earlier about the playoffs. I think that's different, but I think Jordan Love's the best quarterback in the NFC. So when you have that, and you have Micah Parsons, and you have some playmakers in the back end that I think eventually will start catching the football for the defense.
I am so glad to hear you say Jordan Love's the best quarterback in the NFC. I agree. And even with Matthew Stafford having a great season, Jordan Love's 19 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Matthew Stafford has a couple of interceptions. They're having very, very good seasons. Yeah. I think Jordan Love is an MVP candidate. Without
he won't win it, but I think that
probably no,
but he'll be right there on that.
He might get a vote.
It'll be like the Heisman Trophy race where you think your guy is going to win it. He takes 3rd or 4th, but he's in the conversation. And one final thing I'd like to say about the Bears is the Bears haven't played a team like Green Bay yet, at least not on a roll. Green Bay's won the last 3. They did
just play Philadelphia yesterday in Philadelphia. So I
know that was just said about that. It's a quality win, but I don't see Philadelphia as in Green Bay's league. I know Philly beat Green Bay. That's not the same Green Bay team.
But they only scored 10 points.
They scored 10 points. We scored 7. That was a very scared offense, as far as I'm concerned. Philly, for some reason, manhandled the line of scrimmage. And I think with Anthony Belton in there, I don't think that's going to happen as much. That was a Jordan Love game. That was a discombobulated line. A lot of guys out of place. And that was Tucker. Tucker was in the game. I think he was.
He didn't play Philadelphia.
He didn't play. Okay. All right. That's there you go. There you go. That was part of it as well. So with a healthy Tucker Kraft, I think things are different. I think Matt LaFleur has made wonderful adjustments now not having had Tucker in. If we're playing 12 personnel, 2 tight ends, you've got Musgrave that can go long and another guy that can block. Wiley looks like he's a pretty good ball player and a pretty good blocker. I like him. I don't know about Fitzpatrick. He's had some quality plays. I don't know how he is on blocking, but when you've got 6 offensive linemen, you're bringing Darian Kennard in. I think we are. My prediction: Green Bay 27, Chicago 13. 27-13. That's my prediction.
I like that.
Yeah, I'll wait a little longer before I do that. There's a whole week. I got to see who's going to be back and play.
It's just for fun. I'll come back and maybe make an updated prediction. But right now, 27-13. I think Green Bay is good enough to beat them and finally put them in their place. Their 8-game winning streak comes to an end.
All right. Good deal.
Yep.
All right, buddy. Well, you've given us more time than we could have asked for, so I really appreciate that. Say hi to the kids for us. Hi, kids, and we'll catch up with you maybe at the end of the season, or maybe we'll be talking. Maybe we'll be talking Super Bowl. Maybe we'll be talking in the playoffs.
I tell you what, if they're there, I applied for my credential like last week. So if Green Bay's in the Super Bowl, I think I'm flying to Santa Clara. So don't tell my wife. I don't think she knows that yet. But
well, tell her she can go.
Yeah,
but
right.
You got to bring the kids and watch them in the hotel room while I'm at the game. That won't go.
All right, buddy. You have a great rest of your weekend. Have fun shoveling.
All right, Jake.
Appreciate
See you
yeah,
later, buddy.
Thanks, guys. Beat Ohio.
All right, bye-bye. All right.
You're not getting away without a prediction here.
Oh, okay. I'll try to get one before we're all done here today.
All right.
Our big number of the week, race to 10, currently has us tied at 3 apiece. And this week's big number of the week is 9 million is the answer. Sunday or Superman. And Tom sent me his guess right off the top of the show. And my time to give you the answer is now. 9 million. Thanksgiving, of course, traveling is happening like right now. Some people are flying home today. Most are traveling tomorrow. Sunday, November 30th is predicted to be the busiest, aka worst day of air travel of all of the year. Tomorrow is expected to have over 3.2 million domestic seats booked. And with the weather happening today across the Midwest and all the flights being bumped from today, it's going to make tomorrow twice as bad. It's going to be really bad tomorrow. I pray for all those who have to travel anywhere tomorrow in and out of the Midwest. So Thanksgiving travel estimates are in, according to AAA, 81.8 million people will travel between November 25th and December 1st. That's over 1.5 million more than last year. So let's give Tom the point. 9 million has to do with Superman. Can you guess what that has to do with Superman?
I think it was the very first, and I didn't get this until just now. The very first Superman comic was uncovered by a couple of brothers in their mom's attic.
Superman,
but I didn't think it was 9 million. Really?
Superman number 1, 1939, just sold at auction for just over $9 million.
There you go.
So if you're visiting your childhood home over the holidays, whether it's Thanksgiving or Christmas, check those attics, check those old toy chests. You might find something like these 3 brothers found clearing out their mother's attic. They found a copy of Superman number 1 from 1939. Apparently it was in good enough condition. They got over $9 million for it.
Thanks, Mom.
So, favorite superhero? Are you a Superman guy, Spider-Man guy, Batman or guy?
My favorite superhero, where is he? Snoopy.
Oh, I was going to say Jacobs is number 4, Brett Favre. So,
yeah. No, I don't get into. That's not Snoopy. Oh well. I don't get into Marvel superheroes.
No.
But Spider-Man would be it. Spider-Man. I do like Spider-Man, mostly because I love the song, the theme song. Spider-Man, Spider-Man does whatever a spider can.
I don't think I've ever had a favorite superhero. I mean, back in the day when we were kids, we watched Saturday morning cartoons and we saw the Justice League. We saw, Wonder Woman and Superman and Batman and Robin and Aquaman, who never got any respect. Aquaman, no respect.
Yeah. I tell you,
But
that's tough being underwater all the time. I tell you.
I guess if I had to pick one, I would think it would be Batman, just because he was a regular guy. He just had all the gadgets and stuff because Alfred.
He wasn't technically a superhero.
No,
Yeah.
no, he just had the
That's yeah.
utility belt, but he still did what he did. So I don't know. Obviously, if you want to pick any superhero that you actually want to be, it's got to be Superman, right? The dude can fly and see through walls. I mean, come on, that's why he's Superman.
Yeah.
Anything else this week, my friend? That's kind of what we wanted to do today. Give a little shout out again to the Veterans Drop-In Center. Thanks to Jacob Westendorf for being our guest today and mentioning what they're doing at the Veterans Drop-In Center, and Roy Gale Baseball. Our event is coming up this Wednesday already. It's hard to believe, but this Wednesday night, December 3rd, our annual In Crowd 815 Christmas party and fundraiser is at the Ross Pearson VFW post, which is at 922 7th Street in Rockford. You'll see on this flyer, it says dinner tickets are $20 each, or a table of 6 for $100. You do not have to buy tickets to attend. Only if you're getting dinner that night do you have to have a ticket. So if you just want to come and grab a drink and do some networking and maybe bid on some silent auction items, come and do that. It's absolutely free to do that, other than whatever you spend on your drink. But Sassy Mac Boys is going to be our caterer, and I think it's going to be $20 well spent if you want to get the dinner. So if you can't get there at 5:30, come at 6. If you can't get there at 6, get there at 6:30. I would say, if you can't get there by 7, okay, maybe not. But we'll probably be there from 5:30 till about 8:30 anyway. Which means that all of the raffle stuff won't be wrapping up till around 8:00. So come on out, enjoy the party, meet some new folks, and support Veterans Smile with a purchase or two. So anything else? We're all Packers talked out, right? No, we could keep talking all afternoon, but
I could talk for another 2 hours. That would be just fine. But I do want to thank you for coming up to Ron's house to watch the game. That was fun. That was our first game this year that we got to watch together.
That's right. We had a fun day at Ron's.
That was awesome.
The soup was amazing. Thank you to Ron's wife.
Oh my God, was that ever?
That was awesome.
Wow. Ron's wife, for those of you who don't know, Ron, mutual friend, trivia partner, his wife made some amazing chicken. What are them square weird noodles? What are they called? Are they like dumpling noodles or something?
Dumpling noodles. That's a good name for them, even though that's probably not their official name. But they were.
Yeah, well, they're exactly. But they're squarish and they're really good. Yeah. It was just amazing. We had snacks. We had it was just terrific.
And then, of course, we got to do Thanksgiving with the Packers, and they showed up and they showed out, and I got me all excited again about the potential playoff run for this team.
And I don't want to I don't want to continue the show. I know you probably got to get going, but Ron's not the biggest Jordan Love fan, even though he's got him as his quarterback in fantasy, which makes no sense to me. But he does have 2. So why not grab Jordan Love if your first one is Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or whatever? But anyway, I'm hoping he's coming around now. That game he played against Detroit was flawless. That game he played against Minnesota was flawless. That game he played against, name any team this year, with the exception of maybe 1 or 2 games. The game against Philly, he wasn't flawless. The game against Cleveland, he wasn't flawless. But
he's good.
He's touchdowns, really good. 3 interceptions.
He's not throwing the ball away. I mean, except when he has to, and he's throwing it away. He's not throwing it in the other team's arms. So
that's right.
That's what you want a quarterback to do. Live to play another down. If it's second down and you're going for a deep ball and no one is open, you throw it away.
There are some stats that people stay away from because they are better than Aaron Rodgers. Certain stats are. They are. That's a fact. They are.
He's there.
His very first year was almost. I mean, it was better than Aaron Rodgers' first year. Interception wise, Aaron Rodgers threw like 17 or 18 interceptions his first year, and Jordan Love threw 11. He had what was it, 30 something touchdowns and 11 interceptions. I can't remember how it worked out. 18 down the stretch against 1 interception. He had better numbers than right now. He's not better than Rodgers. Don't get me wrong. That's not what I'm saying.
No.
But what I'm saying is that he is putting up numbers that are equal to or better than Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is the GOAT B, the GOAT
Crazy
2.
accurate passer, just so good.
Yes, but a lot of that doesn't have as much to do with the arm. It has to do with this right here,
Yeah.
the brain. This is what makes Tom Brady so good, is that he's reading defenses and he knows, well, that guy's not going to be there because he's going to be there, because I can tell the way he's pointing. I can tell what he's doing. I can tell those little nuances. And that's why Tom Brady knows he can throw right over the middle and complete a 20-yarder to Rob Gronkowski. Okay? Aaron Rodgers has that same trait. And so does Jordan Love.
Mm-hmm.
And maybe not to the extent, but I'm watching him play. And when I saw him play in 2023 and he's throwing a ball to Christian Watson that lands perfectly in between 3 guys, I'm thinking he got lucky. But I keep seeing him do it. He threw that ball to Dontavian Wicks. He catches it, and he's got 1 foot, 2 foot, and then the third one out. And Detroit fans or Packer haters are saying, no, he was out of bounds. We'll go back and watch the tape.
It was so close. It was so close.
It was a catch.
Yes.
Ball in hand, left foot, right foot, then left foot out. It was a catch.
Yeah.
So I know Jake, this is one thing I want to say, and Jake, if you're listening, with all due respect, I disagree with Jake on I don't want to talk too much about the officiating. No, the officiating's awful. League wide, it's awful. It isn't just the Packers getting screwed. It's awful league wide. That play that Christian Watson has his arm being,
Yeah.
That's a game changer. That's a game changer.
That one was a tough one to call. That's a bang bang quick thing. I could see a ref missing that if he didn't have the right angle.
No, but he had the right angle. You could see he's looking right at it.
Yeah.
Right at it. His left arm. Watson was like this, trying to corral the ball. Left arm right there. Ref is right there.
Well,
and you can't see
NFL wide receivers these days have to be able to catch the ball with one hand now. You know that, Tom.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, so the other one that really bothered me was when I was talking about with Keyshawn Nixon getting called for that pass interference or illegal contact. No, the Detroit guy engaged him. He engaged with him.
Right.
You can't make that determination that, well, it was Keyshawn Nixon making contact with him. What is he supposed to do? Not touch him?
Right.
You have the right.
You got to get out of his way. Well.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. I know I can't touch you.
It's like basketball. You have a right to the space you occupy. It's
That's right. That's right. That's exactly right. That's the best way to describe it right there.
So Bears at Packers is the Sunday afternoon game. They're the game of the week, if you will, 3:25 kickoff. That's going to be a tough game. Packers at the Broncos is going to be a very tough game the week after. Also, the America's game of the week at 3:25. And then from then on, it's all flex schedule stuff. The Packers at the Bears could become the Sunday night game on the 20th, or the Saturday night game on the 20th, because they're scheduled for the 20th. That's a Saturday.
Okay.
That might be a prime time. That might get flexed. I don't think they would flex it to another day. I don't think they would push it to Sunday night football. So
no, they do that for purposes of this. All started years and years ago when the Giants and the Jets occupied both stadiums. They still do.
Same.
And you would always have the Jets or the Giants play on the Saturday, and then in case one of them needed to play on the Sunday. That's when all this started. At least that's to my recollection. I don't know if that's why they did it, but you could always see the Jets or the Giants playing on the Saturday.
Well, unless the Bears and Packers are right neck and neck for the top spot in the NFC North, I don't know that they would flex that to the primetime game that night, but they might. So that might get moved, at least time-wise. And then the Ravens at the Packers is the 28th. That's a Sunday. I don't think that'll get flexed anywhere because I think the Ravens are going to be out of it by then. That's my prediction.
What time is that game?
It's to be determined. It's not even in the books yet.
Okay, but at the beginning of the season it was. Now it's TBD because they might flex it.
And then
I'm guessing it was probably a 12 o'clock start.
probably, and that's probably where that one will probably stay, I'm guessing. And then Packers at
Okay.
Vikings again. Vikings aren't going to be in it. It's not going to be playing for anything. That will stay a noon game, probably on January 4th. So
And if all goes well and the Packers beat the Bears twice and they somehow beat Denver, I think they're as good as any team in the NFL right now. They can beat Denver. They can beat Baltimore. They
yeah,
can run the table. Will they? I don't know. If they're going to lose any game, I think it could be the Bear game in Soldier Field, or it could be the Denver
that
game, or it
Bronco
could be the Baltimore game.
game. Yeah,
And that Minnesota game might have serious implications. It could very well have division title implications.
right.
Because here's the deal. Let's just say Green Bay beats the Bears in Lambeau. Okay, now we're a half a game better than the Bears. Let's just say they both lose the following week, or they Bears win, Packers lose. Now the Bears are a half a game up. And then the Bears go in and beat Green Bay. Now they're a game and a half up.
It's
Well,
very
then
real.
the following week,
This really could happen. This is really
it all could happen. The following
happen.
week, Green Bay beats Baltimore and the Bears lose. Then that means the Packers could be playing for the division against the Bears, not against the Bears, but I mean, opposite the Bears here, with the Bears losing possibly and the Packers beating Minnesota, and there's your division. It could come down to the final game, is what I'm saying.
Abs-
I don't know how it's going to play out. I do expect the Packers to beat the Bears both times because I think they're better than the Bears. But what I saw yesterday was a very, very good Bears team, a very solid Bears team.
And Ben Johnson's
I'm
creative. So hey,
yes, he is. He is
they're going to throw
very
stuff at,
creative.
they're going to throw stuff at the
When you,
Packers. The Packers didn't have it on film to see them.
when you have athletic ability, you can do a lot of different things.
Yeah.
And when you've got smart players, you can do a lot of things. Caleb Williams is, if anything, he's smart.
Yeah.
He's a very, very smart player. I think he maybe gets, ahead of his skis at times when he decides I'm going to go ahead and run, or I got a guy open and he overthrows it by 5 yards. Those are the balls that get picked. Now remember this stat. We didn't get to it during Jake's time. This is my favorite stat of all, and that is Green Bay is number one defensively, number one in the NFL at not allowing throws over 10 yards. Not allowing, obviously, they have allowed lots of throws over 10 yards, but they're number one in the league at throws over 10 yards and throws over 20 yards. I said this early on. You can go back and look at the tape. Good luck finding it. I said that Green Bay, the reason McKinney and Williams do not have a lot of interceptions, I think McKinney's had 1 interception this year as opposed to last year. He had 5 in the first 5 games, 6 after 7 games, and then 8 I think he ended the season with, because teams got wise and they said, no, we're not throwing long against Green
Right.
Bay. We cannot throw long against Green Bay. Well, that shortens the field for the defense. And this is why the defense gets off the field. This is why the defense is so good, because the backside of it is locked down. And that's why a lot of completions, you can dink and dunk us to death, go ahead. But as long as we come up with a stand and you have to punt it or kick a field goal, we've done our job. But in many cases, you're going 3 and out against us.
And when you get to the red
or
zone,
maybe
you got to throw at McKinney because you got no more room. So there you go.
well, yeah, no, that's true. That's true. And then, third and 7. Oh, it goes out of the back of the end zone because Micah Parsons almost took Jared Goff's head off. So that's kind of encapsulates what's going on with the Packers. I honestly do believe that Caleb Williams is not going to get anything down the field. He's going to get a lot of stuff over the middle, and I think Green Bay is going to be ready for it. Hopefully, Quay Walker's back. Hopefully, Lucas Van Ness is back. I think they've been waiting for this game. I think they've circled it on their calendar, and I think they've been waiting for this game. Oh, by the way, listen to this real quick here. Out for this last game: Savion Williams, Lucas Van Ness, Carl Brooks, Quay Walker, Jaden Reed. Forget that one because he's been out all year.
Right.
Elton Jenkins, Tucker Kraft, Matthew Golden, Nate Hobbs. They are all, with the exception of Tucker Kraft and possibly Jaden Reed, he might actually be coming back.
Yeah.
Savion Williams is coming back. Lucas Van Ness might come back. He had a minor setback. Carl Brooks should be back. Quay Walker should be back. Jenkins, no. Kraft, no. Golden and Nate Hobbs. I don't want Nate Hobbs back. I don't think he can go. he can go suck a big egg as far as I'm
Yeah.
concerned. I'm not a big Nate Hobbs fan.
No,
I don't think he adds to the team. So look at that.
it's a
Look
lot
at
of
that
talent.
right there. We have done what we've done this year without Jaden Reed and now without Tucker Kraft for the last 4 games. Largely without and Marshawn Lloyd is another one. But I don't count him in the mix because
He's been
he's
out.
played 7 snaps with the Packers. Maybe. No, I really 2 games, a half a game here and a quarter in another game. He's hardly done nothing. I bet he hasn't had 10 carries since he's been with them. So this is going to be very interesting. I think the Packers are even better than what we've seen. So,
Well, Bears at Packers. You want my prediction? I know you want my prediction. This
well, yeah, it's all for fun. I
this
mean,
is the
nobody's
game.
gonna.
I think I finally get the game that I want, which is something like 34-17, a 30+ point game by the Packers, and which we got on Thanksgiving, 31 points. It was good. So I'm thinking 34. They're going to give up 17 or 18 points to the Bears at least, maybe more in the 20s, but hopefully not. We'll see how healthy our Packers defense is and if they can contain that tough run game of the Bears, because that's been their thing. They're a really good run team, so we got to be able to stuff that runner. Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, boys.
Well, we stuffed Jahmyr Gibbs twice this year.
Yes.
Minnesota did nothing in the run game. The Giants with Tyrone Tracy did nothing in the run game. I mean, we've stuffed every single running back all year. I don't think that DeAndre Swift and Kyle Monankin, I don't think they're going to. They're not running for 200 yards against us. I just don't see that happening.
Well,
And that right there is a big key.
we'll see how the Bears use play action and how they disguise it and what trick plays they throw at, because they're going to have to throw at the linebackers. And if that's successful, it could be a rough day. But if it's not successful, I think we double up on them. I think it's like 34-17, something like that.
Oh, dude, I like your prediction even better.
All right.
One final thing. I'm sorry. Did you see the game at all yesterday? The Bear game?
I did not.
Okay, so
saw some highlights.
I'm not a fan. I am not a fan at all, and I hope they outlaw it, of the tush push.
No.
Okay, because it's bullcrap, is what it is. Here's what happened. They were a victim of their own success yesterday.
They run some Caleb Williams tush pushes yesterday that I missed.
No. It was Philly. Jalen Hurts runs the tush push. He's on the pile, and the pile is stopped. And the Bear guy goes up and just keeps yanking until he finally pulled the ball out. Well, when I looked at it, when I saw it, it looked like a Philly guy had grabbed it. But the Bear guy comes out of the pile, and they go, oh, Chicago ball. What? No, you can't make that determination. You know what? Here's what you do. You get on the mic and say, we will not make the determination until we see it on the thing. And if we don't have a clear thing, then it's Philly ball. Or you make it Philly ball right then and there. Then you make the determination. But this bogus call of, well, it's Chicago's ball. And then they go ahead and look at the tape. Well, you can't overturn it.
When did the whistle blow?
Why did it or when?
When did it? That's kind of usually the thing, right? You play.
Well, no, the whistle hadn't blown,
okay,
so that was fine. But to sit there and go when he's on the pile and he's vulnerable and you got 2 or 3 guys pulling at it, I'm sorry, no, that shouldn't happen. The ball should be whistled dead when everything is stopped. This is where you get guys injured, because when you got a guy that's, he's kind of carrying the pile and all that, and you got guys piling on. Now that guy in the bottom has 1,600 pounds of beef laying on him. That's how legs get broken. Yeah. That's how ankles get broken. That's how arms and shoulders get broken. I'm sorry. The NFL needs to seriously look at the way they call that stuff and get rid of the tush push, because it serves no useful purpose. Okay. It doesn't. Other than if you're a Philly fan. Okay, I'm done. I'm not really, but I'll be done.
No more tush push. Put in the comments and tag Lucha Cantina if you'd like a chance to win a $25 gift card from our friends at Lucha Cantina. Put in the comments. Hello, just hello in Crowd 815 and tag Lucha Cantina. we'll get you in a drawing to win a $25 gift card. You're going to want this for the holidays. You're going to want to either gift this to somebody for the holidays or use it yourself for a holiday meal and a little date night. So do that. Next week, we're going to chat with Carly Johnette. She's with Lifescape Community Services. Glad to have her back on the show. And again, thanks to Jacob Westendorf from Sports Illustrated and Rock Fordian, a Packers beat writer for SI. Remember, friends, you change.
Oh, I was going to say, it'll be nice to get back to non-for-profit. So I'm tired of talking football.
He lies.
He said with tongue planted firmly in cheek.
Yeah, visit us at incrowd815.com. Remember, you change the world when you help one person. Be a blessing to someone today and every day this week. We'll meet you back here next week for another InCrowd 815 podcast. Later, buddy.
Later. Enjoy the snow.
815 in crowd. 815 in crowd. 815 in crowd.